Hello, hello, we're live.
Good
Live,
morning.
live, live.
Hello, everyone.
Take credit. We're late because of me. I was playing with stuff in the background. So, my fault, my fault. We are talking about kind of myth, folklore, local legend. From
Mm,
what I was reading on it, Richie, I read what you sent me, and we have a viewer story. So, I was going down some
yes.
history, like how did this become a thing? And I have a really long link to put up later. It's a million miles long, but it is a really good um, historical blog link that I will be honest, I didn't read the whole thing because the sources that were linked over in like, as stated here in 1570 by so and so, it was phrased like this, which also relate, and I'm like, I'm not clicking every one of these links at
Yeah.
6:30 in the morning. I'm
No.
like, I trust you good enough.
Right.
But I will post that a little later if anybody wants to go down the rabbit hole of history on our topic. And so, Richie, you suggested it last week.
Hmm.
You say it correctly. You say it. Do
La
it.
Llorona. La Llorona. She's creepy, that's for sure. Um, so I'm going to start by saying that my assistant manager is Mexican, so she grew up obviously because this is a weeping woman and like through Latin culture, like if you have any Latin blood in it, you grew up around it, or if you grew up anywhere um, around the border, you know about it because it was just everywhere. And she was telling me about it, and the story she told me is actually the one that I sent you guys. But I heard it differently, but then it was different but the same. I mean, so I want to start this whole thing by saying I think that there are multiple versions of La Llorona, and it's very possible to me that that name has just become sort of a catch-all phrase. Just like you have your woman in white or your weeping women throughout, the American states. Just about every single big hotel has a jaded bride who committed suicide and now she haunts the hotel and she wanders in a white dress. I think that this is what La Llorona has become. But Melissa, you have all the history on your end and I can't see it anymore because
Um,
everything's on my phone.
yeah, so this banner, and
Oh my.
actually, yes, it's very long. So, what I'm going to do, I was hoping it would just throw it in chat. I'm going to put the link in chat. Um, this is a very extensive history write up on the meshing and the origin stories.
Oh.
Um, there is a lot of evidence stating that there is some European influence from Spain that has been mixed over an
Mm-hmm.
Aztec fertility goddess. Some of the stories are that she leaves a crib behind, and a crib and like these metal spikes are symbols of her. So she at
Mm.
times would be seen to be walking, not always necessarily wailing and crying, but just walking through the streets. And when she would disappear, that crib would still be there.
Hmm.
So these stories have started meshing and kind of coming in
Yeah.
together. And that really long link, I wish there was a bit.ly for it, goes over the progression of the history and how even wording starts being borrowed and repeated and then slightly changed. So, it'll even trace the main places in the US where there is high Latin and like Mexican historical influences and family gatherings. Like, this is where you're going to see it most. And they give like examples of cities. But
Mm.
because she is mostly found by water, waterways travel, they're like, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that she doesn't go up three towns, you know?
Oh yeah.
But hey, Chris, and Chris is our viewer friend who has sent in her encounter.
Right. So
Um,
glad,
that
so
we
thankful for that.
Yeah, we really appreciate, like, side note, anybody who has creepy stories, has things that you could think of us talking about, anything like that, just send it on over. And for
Absolutely.
those joining late, we're talking about La Llorona. I think Herbs and stuff asked that, and I didn't know if you caught it. So just
Mhm.
throwing that out there.
Hey, Karen. Yeah, catching up a little bit. Um, now, I personally have not had a run-in with any screaming ladies, other than who are alive and we just scream in frustration. Um, but we're not out in
Solidarity.
the woods.
That's about it.
Yes, yes. Which, that could happen on a daily, on an hourly. I think we need to put a scream room in the back of the store
Oh,
and
yeah.
be like, you know, um, enter as needed. Let me go find the correct tab with the story.
Mhm.
Okay. So Chris says, when I was 11 or 12 years old, I was walking down the ditch bank home from a friend's house with another friend of mine. We were talking and really not paying attention to our surroundings at all because, young people, right? We do that all the time. It was a little after dark and it was summer night, so you could hear all the frogs and toads making noise in the water as we walked along the ditch bank. All of a sudden, I heard a lady scream and we both stopped. It was faint, but we both heard it. We looked at each other and I said, "What was that?" My friend Angel said, "I think it was far away. It must be someone having a fight." We were both a little shook up, but continued walking. We got down to the bank a little further and we could see our road ahead. We then saw this white mist, I lost my place, form at the culvert opening that went under the road. We heard the scream again. This time it was louder, and I remember the air feeling cold. We both let out a yell and ran all the way home, which was a good quarter mile up the road. You have better cardio than I do. When we got to my house, we were both like, that was La Llorona. That had to be. We both were so freaked out that we went into the house and asked my mom if she could drive Angel the rest of the way home. After that, I was convinced that the noises outside my window were her. That went on until we moved when I was like 14.
Oh, wow.
I would see the strange shadows and hear scratching sounds. We had no trees, so it was not anything brushing up against the window. I always had a healthy fear of her. Her legend was big in my part of growing up. I think every kid in the area was afraid of her. They say she was made up to keep kids away from the river and the ditch banks, but I think she was real and got energy from scaring the heck out of the kids that crossed her path. After that, I was very intrigued about her. I have a little self-published book about legends of the Southwest and her stories. And Chris, why haven't you told me you had this book?
Yeah,
Side note.
seriously.
Side note, right? I didn't think to ask that when she sent it to me, but yeah, you're in
Yeah,
trouble, Chris.
Herbs is like, I've heard of a weeping woman, but I didn't know the story. I think there are many weeping women stories, right?
Yeah,
Because
there are
there,
several different, yeah. But there is one thing that every weeping woman has in common, I think. Not really all of my guests, but I want to say about 95% of weeping women legends start with they killed their children and now they're doomed to search for them forever or something along those lines. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that 95% of weeping women legends start that way.
Yeah, I mean, even locally, right? Like, I don't know if you guys,
Yeah,
but Crybaby Bridge, like,
Crybaby Bridge, she killed her kid.
yep. And like and of course, there's, 10 different Crybaby Bridges
At
throughout
least.
wherever, because kids just heard the story and said, hey, this is Crybaby Bridge.
Yeah,
They park their car, you think you hear crying, you think whatever, and it kind of perpetuates the story. So,
right.
um, I have this map. I think one of my
Okay,
kitties may
later.
have destroyed it at this point.
Sit.
I guess I don't have it anymore, but it was like a haunted Ohio map.
Say
Um,
hi.
And I think, oh, hello, Luna. I think Crybaby Bridge was on there, so I'll have to see if I can get it again.
You know,
That's just a side note, but
Crybaby Bridge.
Crybaby
Bridge is like Mary Jane's grave. There's 100,000 of them in each state. Like, but which one's the real one?
Exactly.
But so I do know that with La Llorona. Now, this is what my manager told me. The story that she heard was that a woman, a native, fell in love with a Spanish man. They had kids. She was basically like too low for him to be with, so like she was just his mistress basically. And when he refused to make their relationship public, she drowned her kids. She drowned all of the kids that they had together, and stop it. And now she is, doomed to search for her kids forever. And I told Chris this, and so I'm jumping back to Chris's story now. So I told Chris that the only reason that I am inclined to believe that she may have come across a different weeping woman is because La Llorona, it said that if you hear her up close, that means she's far away. And if you hear her far away, that means she's right up on you. And it kind of sounds like they had the opposite experience. But then Chris said in return, maybe this is one of those legends that changes with the region that you're in. So that goes back to La Llorona now becoming a catch-all term. So perhaps a version of this creature does, scream, sound like they're on you when they're on you. Girl, if you don't stop whining.
I've always wondered when I
have
was
a
reading
weeping
that.
woman right here, guys. I have La Llorona right here.
Some of those stories where they're like the mother killed her children and then she wanders looking for them. I'm like, she knows damn well where they are.
Right.
I don't buy that part of the story. Like, next, like, I kind of think sometimes folklores get crossed, right? And in one of the write-ups or tracing the history in that link, it talks about how, yes, she's looking for her children, but they died in a flood. And I'm like, well, that would make more sense to be wandering and looking for your children rather than, playing the innocent defense of like, I don't know what happened. Oh, where are my kids?
That definitely makes more sense.
By no means am I saying that, she is not real. I think there's multiple with different stories and different aspects, and the history for her in this particular icon, because she's almost like her own like local folklore icon.
I mean, she got her own movie.
Yeah. The other thing too, I mean, unfortunately, throughout history, it's not like we're lacking for stories of like a woman scorned, of a man, messing around, doing whatever, and then go. So it's like, maybe as a society, we could take a peek at, why there's so many of these stories. But aside from that, it wouldn't surprise me that in all these different regions, there are consistent stories of, things like that happening. So, it doesn't surprise me. As far as the children, I don't know if, maybe that did happen. Maybe that's a way of kind of criminalizing somebody that was kind of more of a victim in something. I do think, people are vengeful for a reason. So That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm always defending like the cryptids and spirits and stuff. So for some
Yeah.
reason,
That's because you're like fairy yourself, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
they're your people. You're like, leave my people alone.
Yeah, but it's so
Yeah,
true.
I swear that's me too. Like, I don't see her story confuses me because I'm sitting here thinking, if she's spending all these years searching, obviously she loved her kids, so why would she kill them? But then you also got to think back when this legend started, mental illness was a thing, but nobody knew how to deal with it. So she could have had some kind of mental illness, and their father refusing to marry her kind of just set her off. She made like blacked out and did it. And when she came back, she's like, oh shit, what did I do? And part of the legend is also that if you hear her and you have children, that she would kidnap your children. But back to my manager, and I just remembered that she told me a story the other day, that I think it was her sister, her cousin, somebody in her family had recently had a run-in with La Llorona while camping. They heard the screaming. She said it sounded far away, and they saw a figure of a woman walking by their tent, and they were in some wooded area in Mexico. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no because I didn't witness it. I wasn't there. But the person that she said experienced it was genuinely terrified. So she definitely saw something that wasn't normal. And I'm like, well, doesn't La Llorona kidnap children? And she's like, sometimes. I was like, you better tell your sister to bless her entire house and keep her out.
Right? That's where part of me, the snarky side of me, I'm like, take them. You'll bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Henry would just be telling her about like his new Minecraft like servers and stuff. He'd be talking about that for a solid 20 minutes and she'd bring it back.
Yeah,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get. Well, I mean, you probably wouldn't be kidnapped by her now because it's like 20, going to be 21, right? Not the little kid, but
Yeah.
you're going to be talking or hearing him talk about different video games and specs and image cards and processors, and, so unless you're
Yeah.
in that, you're going to be like, oh my God,
Okay.
shut up. So everybody, little
Luna,
side
stop.
note, we've got to know emotes on Twitch made by our very lovely chair. So feel free to play with those. Play with them. Yeah, they give us money to take them back, right? There we go. But I shouldn't even say it because, he was a pretty good kid. And from what I've seen of Henry, he's very chill. Like,
He is. He's a good boy.
But, I think there are so many mother legends that are just kind of overlapped. And, the whole, and I can kind of understand a bunch of parents making up lore to keep kids away from doing stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Or
Santa,
maybe
if you're
even,
not
like,
good, don't get anything.
I was gonna
a
say,
warning to like women, to like their daughters. I mean, as much as it's terrible, like way back then, having having a child with someone that you're not, married to, maybe it's kind of like a warning to them, like, hey, be careful, don't get pregnant by somebody.
Yeah.
Now it's not so much of a thing, which it shouldn't have been obviously anyway, but it very well could be could have been a legend to warn daughters, and also, like you said, kind of warn children, like to
Yeah, I was gonna say dating advice from 1507.
Yeah, exactly.
Relationship and dating advice. I mean, some of it might apply if you look at it like if he's not willing to commit, get rid of him.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
some of the stories say, like, he bought her house, he was providing all the things, and I'm like, "Girl, you had it good. You didn't have to worry about being committed to his ass. You could get rid of him
Right.
whenever you wanted."
Yeah, like, what was the
No
problem?
legal ties. Like, is it bad or is it not?
I mean, shoot, let a man pay my bills. I'm good.
Exactly.
Like, you had a sugar daddy. Like, what in the world? And he was
And we
taking
all
care of
can
all the
use one of
things.
those.
And this was back in the
So,
1500s. That was hard to come
Right.
by, okay? Like,
yeah.
They're hard enough to come by now, much less back then.
yeah.
Yeah. Now to go a little bit in it, so this was back when you had to worry about classes and stations in society, and this is why he would not commit to her because she was
Right.
lower class than him.
Mhm.
And his family, in one of the stories, was like, "You need to marry this wealthy lady over here." So that's why, Sugar Daddy apparently did not seal the deal because she was not of the proper class. So, but I mean, again, he was paying all the things, so no hate, no judgment.
No. I mean, I would have
And
just.
this was not the case where he was already married and she came in. So this isn't like
Right.
your guy is not another woman's husband.
Right. Very true. I'd love to hear, like, if anybody else, though, has stories about La Llorona or just anything like the Lady in White or the Weeping Lady, because, it seems to be pretty common.
Yeah.
I myself haven't had a full experience in that way. I've definitely been out, in rural Ohio and been in the woods and heard screaming from far away and stuff like that. But as we said, there are animals and other cryptids and stuff that make those noises. So I didn't stick around long enough to see her or see whatever it was. So we just kind of booked it. So can't say if I ever actually came in contact with her or not. Not on my bucket list, really. So
yeah, I think that's one thing that I'm like, when I'm reading about her and hearing about her and hearing like watching videos on YouTube of people supposedly catching her scream, I'm like, I hope I never encounter her. There's very few things that I'm not willing to encounter, and La Llorona is right there at the top of the list. I don't want to encounter. Like, I've seen Lady in White, but that spirit is just so common anyway that it's not surprising. But the Weeping Woman,
she's everywhere.
never. Yeah. The Weeping Woman.
She haunts every old house, every old brownstone house.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happened. But as far as a weeping woman, I've never experienced that, and I don't really want to, because in my opinion, and a lot of people have told me that I'm wrong, and that's their right to tell me that, but when you look at the legend of La Llorona and what she does, it sounds to me like she is one of the many forms of a banshee. Because the banshees take many forms. They're not just, they're not all evil either. A lot of people think, you hear a banshee, it's a sign of death or something like that's not always true. Stop it. So I'm like, La Llorona, she has a lot of the same qualities that banshees possess. So I'm like, that's probably what she is, or where the inspiration for her story came from.
Very well could be. Or just another legend or form of it, I guess. I always did hear that a banshee, it was more of like an omen, like for saying that death is coming or things like that. But Karen. Don't look in her eyes, the intensity of pain. Yeah. Then I probably wouldn't. I don't think that I would if I ran into her.
You're like, me too. Me too.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. We're on the same page here, girl. That's funny.
I'm like, let's go have coffee and talk about it.
But Emily, as far as banshees go watch my YouTube video because I put one up about banshees where I tell you about different forms of it.
Okay. I for sure will.
So
I'm doing like a quick Google search on the back end, looking up like the Ohio versions of this. And it's funny because the first one that came up was the Dark Angel of Maple Grove Cemetery, which I've been into many times at night. And last I knew, I think they took that angel monument down because people kept messing with it. And then there's Johnson's Covered Bridge.
That's like around here, not too far from me, there is a Mary Jane's grave. And, it's just a little private family cemetery, but of course, all the kids go down there. We went down there, and there's a lot more going on down there than a lot of people think. But anyway, so they had actually, the farmer ended up having to block the entire road to get down to that cemetery because some stupid kids decided that they were going to go down to Mary Jane's tree and they poured gasoline on it and caught it on fire. And I'm like, so regardless of it, whether there's a spirit attached to this tree or not, that's illegal. You just vandalized this person's personal property. Second of all, if it was Mary Jane, and we all know the legend, why would you want to piss her off by defiling her grave?
Seriously.
Like that is the height of stupidity right there. Like, no, I'm good. I'm good. But it just upsets me because now nobody can get down there. And I had quite a few experiences down there. Didn't have anything to do with Mary Jane, but I had a few experiences down there, and I know that the land itself down there has a haunting. But now nobody can experience that anymore because some stupid kids decided to vandalize it.
And unfortunately, that's a common theme,
yeah.
A small group or whatever ruins something for everybody, and
oh yeah,
it sucks because it like I said, just ruins it for everybody. And then it's sad too because you might not ever get to the bottom of something.
Right.
Investigators aren't allowed there, and if they never really had the opportunity to even help the spirits that are there, because I feel like that's not something that's talked about a lot, is whether I just think hearing their story and stuff is important, and not having the opportunity to do that because some people who weren't really in it for the right reasons messed it up for everyone, just kind of a bummer. So
yeah, it is. I would love to get in the woods down there and find out, or even find some more history on it and find out where the random cabin that popped up that I saw was. It literally was there, and when I came back, it wasn't. So I'm like, the cabin was never actually there. And this was before I became a paranormal investigator. We were literally down there being stupid kids at a Halloween party. But it was not too long after that I did my first actual investigation, and we see where that ended up.
Yeah. I guess as a teenager I was super interested in it, but I didn't have a lot of other people that were, I guess, until adulthood. So that's why working at Goddess Lee is so awesome for me, because I get to just talk about that stuff all the time with people who understand me in that way. So
right.
Yeah. And obviously this what we're doing now. So
Yeah, I don't get a lot of that around here, so
I could see that. Yeah, much more like rural area.
Melissa, you look like you're busting at the seam to tell us something.
No, I'm just like responding to people, and of course,
Okay.
Chair is asking us to do like tarot readings again at some point, and I'm like, let me get some people lined up, schedules, and we'll do a special night. I don't know if we would go back to doing every Wednesday because that was just much. It was much for a day off.
Yeah.
Because this is my day off, and here we are, kind of working, kind of not, but
Luna's
but
fish.
on a side rabbit hole, Googling Ohio weeping lady, stories. And there is a whole author who did Weird Ohio. He's got a Crybaby Bridge project. And he's like, Ohio seems to have cornered the market. He's like, what do you need? A baby, a woman, and a bridge.
Pretty much.
So he has listed all of these bridges in Ohio that are all Crybaby Bridge.
That is so funny.
And
did the one in Belleville make the cut?
You know what? Let me.
Also,
because I have heard ever since I moved to Belleville, people finding out that I'm into the paranormal. They're like, "Did you hear about the crying witch at the Belleville Bridge?" And I'm like, "Well, no." And then they told me about it, and I'm like,
if it is, then it might be listed by the name of the road, because there's quite a few on here, and I'm gonna put the link in chat if anybody wants to, like, oh, let's go visit this one.
Yeah, it would be like the Main Street Bridge or something like that.
But I'm like, how funny, because there is supposed to be in Lorain County, and I'm trying to remember where it is. It's not too far from Gore Orphanage, but it's right like here. The Devil's Heartbeat Bridge, where you're supposed to hear, and I'm like, there's a couple factories right down the road, right?
Yeah, right.
That's probably what you're hearing.
Oh yeah,
you're hearing machinery running is probably what you're hearing. I'm quick to debunk everything first. Like, I want to take out all of the logical before we jump to it. And I'm like, we're right down the road from the Ford plant. We're right down the road from, all these things. So,
I mean, you have to try to debunk first. I mean, if you can't, like, not everything, and I think we've talked about this before, not every experience you have is paranormal. There's, most of the time even, there is a mundane explanation for it if you just look.
So,
not always.
Well, and you know what? I would love to get down to Georgia and go see, because there's so many stories that come out of Georgia, especially Savannah. And you're like, well, stores closed for a long weekend. We are going to Georgia.
that would be fun.
Chris, I was desensitized at a young age, so ghost stories do not scare me. I love them.
Same.
Same.
Luna,
I'm like, give me a good horror that's like paranormal versus like gory. Like, I don't want to watch the gory.
Same.
All right, Chris. You're like, I was thinking of doing a once a month tarot night, so maybe we line that up, see what happens.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd be down to pop in. Not that the invite was extended, but just saying.
I'm still learning. I'm still learning, guys. I promise. I haven't given up yet.
Karen's like, I love debunking the debunkable, right? Did you either of you guys look up that show? And I don't know if I talked about it on here. It was out of Canada. It was called Paranormal Home Inspector.
No,
I don't think so. No, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
I'm about to write it down now.
I'm like, there needs to be an American version of this. Like, send in the home inspector that's like, your door's not hung properly. That's why it flies open.
Yeah.
And then we talked to even in Dead Files that we talked about. They do that where they'll hear noises and he has like a pest inspector come and
I was just watching one the other day where they were hearing like footsteps or something, and Steve had a pest control specialist come in and check, make sure there was no pests in the walls, make sure there was no access points for them to get in. And after that, he's like, I have no explanation for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what I love about it. You don't just jump in and say, hey, this is paranormal. No, no, no. Let's figure out if there's something else it can be first. And that's not to say that if you can find a mundane explanation for it, it's not to say that that is exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just saying if that's even a possibility for what it was, then we need to just go ahead and write this off.
Right.
But, and then there's other things you just can't explain at all, and that's definitely paranormal because it's outside the normal.
So Chris can finish teaching you tarot there, Richie.
Okay, yeah, I never really connected with tarot cards. I'm getting fairly decent with my oracle cards, more specifically my enchanted maps set. Ouch! Sorry, Luna just bit down a little too hard on my hand and it hurt. But I'm
Yes,
getting
I
pretty
wonder
decent
who
with my
told you to get
oracle.
that deck.
Yeah, I was about to
I
say,
don't.
I know
Yeah,
someone
I wouldn't know.
Right.
I wouldn't
I'm
know.
like, mine is not easily grabbable at the moment.
Well, see,
Um,
I have the app on my phone. So, I mean, it makes it easier for me to study and to do what I have to do with it to have them on my phone. But sometimes you need the physical deck to really truly feel what's happening. But I am getting really good with it. So far, everybody that I've done a reading for is like, actually, that's pretty much perfect for what I'm going through. And I'm like, well, good.
See, I was just going to ask you, Emily, what do you think of the apps with tarot? I know now we're completely off topic,
Oh,
but
yeah. I mean, hey.
I mean, there's not much else to say about La Llorona.
About La
So,
Llorona,
Right.
yeah. I
yeah.
will say, I really like them for the purpose of learning, especially. So, super, super helpful to not, even if you have the physical cards, you don't have a guidebook, using the guidebook, stuff like that. And I think it is kind of the same in the sense that you're putting the energy into it. As long as your intention's kind of there, I think spirit
Right.
finds a way to get the message across, especially if it's like just for you. Now, that being said, I don't really go by, like, I have an app called Galaxy Tarot, and they do like a card of the day thing. I don't take that as like my personal reading. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would probably, do a different one. But like, as far
Right.
as learning, especially, there's one too called, I think it's called Labyrinthos Academy. And it's more of like a teaching app. So it actually will like quiz you on different cards. They'll use one word associations and you try and like practice basically. So that's really cool. First of all, to just like test yourself and everything for fun, but also a good way to kind of learn how to use the cards without checking a guidebook. Now that one is specifically tarot. I know Richie used Oracle, but I like that a lot. There's like a Galaxy Tarot one too, and then there's Galaxy Runes. I don't know if there's a Lenormand one or not, but that's really helpful to have for like references, just when you're out and about and can't remember what a card means or a rune.
Yeah. Ouch.
Let's see.
Normally, so what ended up happening or ends up happening when I use my app is I'll focus on like the person, like what do I need for them? And I personally feel that you can learn more from a one card draw than you can from multiple cards. That's just my experience. Maybe everybody's different. I mean, obviously everybody's different, but that's just what I find. So I normally only pull one card at a time, for little simple things. But I'll focus on that person, put it out there. I need to know what to tell them. And then I'll shuffle and then I'll hear after you shuffle, go to or scroll to this mini card, like the 16th card. Go to the 16th card, and that's what you have to tell them.
That's cool.
And
And like consistency is the thing too. Like if you're consistently using that app, you know what I mean? You're putting that energy into it and it's pretty much the same thing. You're bonding with it. And I totally get that. Obviously, I'm reading at the store or stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm gonna have the physical cards. But like especially if the app works for you, like use it,
Yeah, and I'm pretty much using the app to get to know like what each card means, because it's just
Right.
easier to have that there. Because with the app, you pull the card, then you have the little button where it'll flip it and it'll tell you what it means, what, reverse, upside, right. So I can read that, well, and then I can understand like what that card means. So now when I get to the physical deck, I pull that card. I don't need the guidebook now because I already know what this card means.
Right.
And so now I can, do my interpretation. This is what it's saying.
Right. It's more like it helps you practice and learn the deck.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool too, is like if you're using the app, but you also have the physical deck too. So like it's like still bonding with it and bonding with the cards and what they mean.
And that's why I paid the $10 or whatever it was to get the app for the specific deck. I'm like, okay, they have the app, I have the deck, they're exactly the same. I can get to know the cards on the app. It's just easier to read when I'm out and about doing something than having the guidebook. And then after that, we can go from there.
Karen's advocating for Luna getting a milk phone.
She will not eat milk bone.
You know what, Chris? That's cool. I haven't seen the full Duffy. That's the combination of Buffy and Deck together. Buffy deck open, and I was wondering how well the artwork was through the whole deck.
I seen the draw that she did, and the artwork on it is gorgeous.
So I'm glad you loved it. Because sometimes it's a gamble when you buy a deck, right? They always show really pretty cards on the box, but sometimes the rest are kind of meh.
They show you what they need to rope you in to buy it.
Yeah. So, Vicky, we started talking about La Llorona and some stories and theories and personal and not so personal experiences running in with her. She's like the weeping lady that tends to hang around waterways. She's a big part of Mexican and Latina, or Latin, not Latina, Latin folklore. So, you'll find her in pockets throughout the US even. So, and there is a link back in chat that should pop up if you do the rewatch, because it's a really long link, but it's a very cool, in-depth, like historical process dating how that story has, evolved over many, many years and different influences and restating, and even just the change of language. Right. So, Spanish and, indigenous Mexican, they're all different. And so they don't translate quite the same way, just in how language works. So it's quite interesting. But you can go back on a replay and see the beginning. And then we kind of got off topic about Crybaby Bridges through Ohio. Those are free to go see if you want to ghost hunt for free, or potentially you can look those up. That link's also in chat. And then we were talking tarot and whether or not tarot apps are helpful and who likes to use them, and then learning and the process. And now the Buffy Tarot deck. Because I don't think you've used that one, right, Emily? That one's not in your list of decks.
I have not. My plan, I really want to get, we actually might be out of it. I have to look, but the tarot, I don't know if it's called Tarot of Monsters, if that's the exact name or not, but
the horror one.
cool. It's like has Frankenstein, it's got a mummy, it's like all of the
that's cool.
really famous like horror monsters and stuff. And it looks really well done and like well thought out. You know, I really appreciate when theme decks like actually take the time to like pick characters or monsters or whoever, you know, goes with the theme, but that actually fits along with the card that they're picking. Because, you know, I get frustrated, I think, when I get a deck and I'm like, that's not what I would have necessarily picked. So, yeah.
Chosen for that.
We have so many new ones that I'm like, and then with the crystals, I'm like,
I want to get my hands on that new the Oracle of the Hecatean Path.
Yep.
That just came in yesterday. I'm like, ooh.
That sounds amazing.
And the new Tarot of the Gnomes and Fairy Tarot look adorable.
Also, so many books. Like we got so many awesome books too. Like I know you ordered the Roger, I think his name is Roger J. Horn, I want to say. But a lot of books on like folk witchcraft and stuff like that. So not trying to be like, but I'm excited. So I'm talking about it. Those are in my pile set aside for today. So
yeah, there's the new Hades book I want to get into. So there's going to be live tomorrow night with new stuff, new crystals, new books, new tarot. We're not going to like bore everybody with just the crystals. So we might take a couple weeks to go through all of the Tucson stuff. But like everything that was coming out of boxes, I'm like, new book, new deck, new oracle, new this, new that. And then I'm like, do we weave it in with the crystals? And I'm like, we can't because the tables are so full that there's nowhere to put those.
Yeah, they are.
We have a singular 6-foot table, 1 6-foot table left to use. Like,
for us, we shall. So this means though Joan will be quite perturbed if we don't get at least 3 tables back in time for divination meetup, because she usually has so many people that we're adding tables to her. I'm like, everybody's going to have to crisscross applesauce on the floor. I don't know what to say.
I think maybe between like me, Venus, Sierra, and Eileen, we can clear out a couple tables for you. We've already done a pretty good job of taking some crystals home. I don't know if you all can't see, but that's my crystal area. I probably have a solid 12 new guys that I've gotten from the Tucson Hall. So,
I was gonna say, yeah. I grabbed like the big emerald.
Here, I'm gonna stop my camera for 1 second. I'm gonna get up and grab like 2 of my favorites. Hold on.
So yeah, I think we're pretty much done putting stuff out. I just gotta get the halite put out, and then that's done. So
I might as well
we'll show some new decks and stuff tomorrow.
Okay, this is what I got. This is blue chalcedony.
Oh, I love that.
I know, and it's so soft. Look at this. I know this is not what this live is about, but I literally have them right here. This carnelian heart, and then this one was my favorite. This is green. Oh, it's so hard to show it. Green and pink tourmaline in quartz.
Get on there.
So yeah, those are my favorites.
There were only 2 of those. There were literally 2 of the tourmaline. Like
that didn't make it out on the floor even. Like it came out of the box and into my pocket. Like I bought that one real quick.
I don't know if you guys can see mine very well, but I followed suit with Emily. I'm trying to get in the light. There it is.
Yeah, the emerald sphere. I think there's a couple left of those.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there was some smaller ones, but like I took the big one.
Go big or go home, Ruthie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was literally only over there to say bye to Ash, and I look down and I see this emerald. And it just started screaming at me. I'm like, okay, shut up. I'll get you.
Yeah.
There we go,
and then,
Chair.
Of course.
We got the Discord going. I still have to sit down and finish how to do, like, if we wanted to do a watch along, you know, getting there. It's when I have the free time to finish setting this up. But there is the Discord, and I'm sure if you just Google or search in there, Goddess Lead LLC. So
That
we were going
explains
to
that.
have boards in there for the book recs, the new tarots. Everybody can share their stones and stuff like that. And then obviously a board to be like, holy crap, this spooky thing just happened. So hopefully some of my schedule will be slowing down a little bit here soon, that I can start knocking off more of my to-do list and make them to-dones instead of to-dos. So, hey, Emily, Crystal Gremlin, best crystal to carry to promote balance.
Actually, honestly, blue chalcedony is actually really good for that. That's one of the reasons I got it.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, very, very calming. I feel like it helps balance emotionally. Another really great one is Caribbean calcite, which give me 1 second.
She's going to go get it.
I was going to say, I know that the blue calcite, Melissa, you gave me one in the store when I was set up for a psychic fair and I was having an anxiety attack.
Yes.
You gave me one and I calmed down like a few seconds.
Calcite's like incredible. So this is Caribbean calcite. This is a I got from Tucson last year. Literally looks like the sea, like the Caribbean. It can hold it like this. I will gladly, if you come into the store, help you pick one out. Another great one for balance is chrysocolla. These are one of the ones that we have. This is actually malacola because you see a little bit of malachite in there. That helps with balance and stuff, but also with communication. So you got one of the moss agate skulls. Yeah, we just actually sold another one yesterday. There's some really cool tree agate ones, but yeah, the skulls are my favorite thing, I think, that came out of Tucson. I know Sierra's at least gotten. She just bought a little smoky quartz one, I think, yesterday. He was probably on the floor.
Oh, did she?
A total of 15 minutes,
So fun fact, Chris, one of my spirit guides is a man who was like my grandfather, and his name is Ray. So you named your skull Ray, and one of my spirit guides' name is Ray. That's funny.
Aww.
That's cute. My skull is named Mortimer. Eileen kind of helped me, but weirdly, it was like the name Mortimer was in my head as Eileen said it, and it's off of Mortimer Goth from The Sims. So if any of you play Sims, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But
yeah, I had no clue.
He's like a creepy
this one bear
guy in Sims.
So it's funny because I put a new link in for the Discord. We had a little issue, like the original board went MIA, like didn't exist. So we made a new one and then we had to merge them. So hopefully this one works. Okay. But there was the very first, he was actually tree agate skull that came out. He had a really cool little druzy like pocket in his head. And I'm like, he needs a little bitty flower in his head. And like everybody wanted him. Jim took him. Sierra was so mad that Jim bought him. And she's like, he has created an enemy and he doesn't even know. Well, a couple of days later, I unwrap another one and I'm like, look, Sierra, he doesn't have the same type of druzy pocket. And she goes, oh, Friday payday. And I'm like, you know what happened last time? So we put him on the table. Here comes Jim on that Saturday. And he's like, nice. And I'm like, we should take a picture of Jim holding that one, saying that he bought it too. So just funny. To show Sierra.
And there's like a zeolite, the green apophyllite one that's there that Jim really wanted. And Sierra's like, I should buy that.
So there is a very cute little cat oracle that we just got back in stock, and there's quite a few cat tarot. Like there's the black cat tarot, there's the cat people. So there's some really nice cat decks.
Yeah,
that we can always show you too. If we are not opposed when we're doing the live for new things, if you're like, I want to see your cat stuff, like we'll take a break from it and like go grab it for you. But yeah, you know what, you should tell us why his name is Ray on the live tomorrow if you can. Yeah. So, and I was just telling Sarah, and I'm like, fun fact, we usually do Tinder profiles for the skulls and we put little cards with them, and I'm like, so we're gonna have to sit here and make them, what is your name? What do you like? What do you hate? And match you up to your human people. Sometimes they already do that, right? Because the one already went home with Chris. already went home with Jim, but she's having to start hiding his skulls from his husband so he doesn't get in trouble for bringing home more rocks. um, which is always fun of how he hides them away. And now I guess his husband is starting to count the skulls.
Uh-oh.
So he can't be like, it's been there the whole time. You never noticed it.
That's what I do with crystals. I just like hide the little, these are everywhere. You know, my little Goddess Elite shopping bag. I just shove them in my purse.
Well, you know, the good thing, at least it doesn't say, when we used to have the purple bags, everybody knew where they came from. Yeah. People were like, do you have like a Walmart bag? So my husband won't know, or my mom won't know, or my spouse won't know. And I'm like, hang on, we got those too. We will help you sneak those in the house.
I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, Luna doesn't care how many crystals you have. If anything, she's excited because she gets to revel in them too.
Yeah.
So
I just joined the server on Discord. I was just testing if it worked. We got
cool
it.
Deal.
So I'm on it. We're good.
Yay. Yay. I'll have to spend time actually like getting that reset up.
Yeah, I can always
ideally
do that too, like at work, like create a couple channels or something like that, like, you know, scary stories, tarot recs, like something like that. So just a little side note.
Cool. Yeah. And see, like I keep wanting to call them boards. That's how old I am. They're called what, channels?
Yeah, they call them channels.
Get with the times. Now, Emily, I was just checking Acuity. You are reading today.
Yes.
And you have some opening because last week you were the hot commodity on the Wednesday. You were booked solid.
Yep.
So you can book with Emily either in person or via Zoom if you're not local. So you can get a reading with Emily today. But since it's almost 11 o'clock on the dot, we should probably wrap up because I know you got to get ready for reading. I've got a few errands I need to run. And Richie, you're probably really tired because you work overnights.
Oh, gosh.
So any last minute questions before we say thank you and goodbye? And thank you to Chair for all of the adorable emotes that we now have to use.
We so appreciate it. And I'll try and get on Discord too and just kind of, you know, chat a little bit, stuff like that. See if we can get that going, because I'd love to talk to all of you for more than just, you know, a couple comments in our live for an hour, so we could actually get to know each other better and all that.
Everybody who is on my Facebook, on my paranormal page, be ready, because as soon as we're done here, I am officially premiering my paranormal logo I created, and it is stunning.
Cool.
And so that's going to be out as soon as we're done here.
Yay!
So keep an eye out. I got a sneak peek of it.
It's a very good looking logo. It'd be great to put as your artwork across your Facebook, Richie. Your banner, I think they call it.
Yeah, as soon as I post it to the world, then we'll see that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining. We'll be back next week. Topic still yet to be determined.
Yeah.
But we'll see everybody next Wednesday at 10 a.m.
See ya. Bye.
Bye, guys.